Hello, my name is Mansochu. Today I'm going to present this assessment 2 video presentation on ABC network. In this presentation, I will demonstrate and explain for the Sydney and the Melbourne branches. I will show the main configuration, including the static and the DHCP addressing, VLAN, inter-VLAN routing, EtherChannel, RIP routing, and then finally I will show the access control list configuration on the routers. So first, I will start with the network topology on this Sydney network. So I have created two separate network, which was one of the main requirement for this project. And the first Sydney network is a static network for the company server and the security team. The second Sydney network is a regular employee, which is in this pink area, and the network uses the DHCP. On other side, this is a Melbourne router. This is a Melbourne router. I have created two VLANs, that VLAN 10 for the IT department and VLAN 20 for the human resource department. I have configured the Ether channel between the Melbourne switches and the inter-VLAN routing on the Melbourne router so that the VLANs can communicate routers. For the routers, I have used the RIP version 2. Let me explain about the IP addressing. Let me start with the Sydney. The network base is the 10.3.0.0/16, and where the number 3 is it come from my last digit of my student ID, which is 03. And from this address block, I have created 10. So for this, I have created from this address block, I have created 10.3.10.0/24 for the Sydney static network and 10.3.20.0/24 for the Sydney DHCP network. And on the other side, Melbourne, the network base is 192.3.0.0/20. For this, I have created 192.3.1.0/24 for VLAN 10 and 192.3.2.0 for the VLAN 20. Now, the Sydney server used the static addressing. Now the Sydney server used the static static address 10.3.10.10/24, and the employee PC in the Sydney used DHCP. In this, it used the DHCP. In Melbourne, the VLAN device use address from their assigned VLAN subnet. Next, I will verify the VLAN and switches configuration. Here on the Melbourne switch, I'm using a I will use the the Sydney server. In the Sydney server, this one in Sydney server 0 use the static IP address, whereas in the employee network, the PC use the DCP in the Sydney network. In Melbourne, in the Melbourne, the VLAN device use the address from their assigned VLAN subnets. So now let me verify the VLAN and the switch configuration. So in the Melbourne, we have two switches. switch 1 and switch 2. So let me check. I have created the VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 correctly, and the PC port are connected. PC port are assigned to the right VLAN. Now, now I will verify the VLAN and switches configuration. Now, I will show the now I will verify the VLAN and switch configuration. Here on the Melbourne switch, this one is switch 1 and this one is switch 2. I'm using a command to show this VLAN. Show VLAN brief. So this confirmed that the VLAN 10 and 20 are created correctly and the PC ports are assigned to the right VLAN. After that, I will check the trunk. Now let me check the trunk. Use show interface trunk. Okay. This verified that the trunk links are active. This is important because trunking allows VLAN traffic to pass between the switches and the routers. Now let me show. Now let me show the EtherChannel summary. Show EtherChannel summary. Then now next I will show the EtherChannel summary. Now let me show the EtherChannel summary. Okay. Here I use the this shows that the two physical link between the Melbourne switches are bundled into the one logical port channel using the lab. The Ether channel improves bandwidth and also provide the redundancy if if one link fail. Right. Now let me show the Ether channel summary between the switch. Ether channel summary. So this shows that the two physical links between the two switches between the Melbourne switches are bundled into one logical port channel using lab. Ether channel actually the Ether channel provides the Ether channel improves bandwidth and also provides the redundancy if one link fails. Now let me show the Ether channel summary. Show Ether channel summary here. This shows that the two physical links between the Melbourne switches, these two switches are bundled into one logical port channel using lab. Actually the Ether channel improves the bandwidth and also provide the data redundancy if links fail. Now let me move to the Melbourne router. This one is my Melbourne. Now I will move to the Melbourne router. Now, now I will move to the Melbourne router. Here I will use to here I used to show IP interface brief to check the router interface. Show interface brief. All right. The router is using a sub interface, which means that the configuration of the router on stick now. I will move to the Melbourne routers. Melbourne router. Now let me show. Now I will move to the Melbourne routers. Now I will move to the Melbourne router. Here, I use a IP interface brief. Now I will move to the Melbourne router. Here I will use the show IP interface brief. Now I will configure the access control list for this project requirement. For this project, it requires that only the Melbourne IT VLAN should be able to access the Sydney server 0. This one. Okay, let me check code again. Okay. Now I will configure the access control list for this project requirements. For this project, now I will configure the access control list. For this project, it requires only the Melbourne IT VLAN should able to access the Sydney server 0, and whereas the HR department should be denied. So on the Melbourne router, I've configured the access control list that denies the traffic from the HR VLAN subnet to the Sydney server. And then I added a permit statement for the remaining traffic. After that, I applied the access control list inbound on the HR VLAN sub interface. Finally, now I will configure the access control list for the project requirements. For this project, it requires, okay. Now I will configure the access control list for this project requirement. The only Melbourne IT team. Okay. Okay. Now I will configure the access control list. For this project, it requires that only the Melbourne IT VLAN should be able to access the Sydney server 0, whereas the HR VLAN must be denied. So on the Melbourne router, I have configured the access control list that denied the traffic from the HR VLAN subnets to the Sydney server. And then I added the permit statement for the remaining traffics. After that, I applied the access control list inbound on the HR VLAN sub interface. Finally, I will show the access list to verify the ACL is based, right? So it shows that the it clearly shows that it denies and permit for the access control list. So finally, I use show access. Finally, I use show access list to verify that the ACL is in place. Yes. Now I will test the result after the ACL is applied. Now I will test the result. Now I will test the. Now let me test once again the connectivity for the result after I have applied the ACL. First, I will go to the Melbourne HRPC and I will let me ping again to the server. Ping 10.3.10.10. Yeah. This time the ping fails because this time the ping fails, which shows that the ACL is blocking HR to access the server. Right? Then let me ping from the IT. Yeah, it's successful. The pinging is successful to the Sydney server. This ping is still successful, which confirms that the IT user can still access the server as required. So, in conclusion now, so finally, let me conclude. So let me conclude. This network satisfied the main requirement for the project. The Sydney used the separate static and DHCP network. Melbourne used the VLANs with the inter-VLAN routing. EtherChannel is working between the Melbourne switches. RIP provides the routing between the branches, and ACL successfully restrict access to the restricted access so that only the IT VLAN can access. Thank you for watching my presentation. Okay. So finally, this network design fulfills the main requirement for the project. So finally, finally this network configuration successfully so so now finally this network design satisfied the main requirement of the for the ABC business. So finally, now this network design satisfied the requirement of the ABC for the ABC business. The Sydney uses a separate network, a static and the DHCP network. Melbourne uses the VLANs with inter-VLANs routing. EtherChannel is working between the Melbourne switches. RIP provides the routing between branches, and finally the ACL is successfully restrict access. So finally the ACL successfully restrict access so that only the IT VLAN can access the Sydney server. So thank you for watching my presentation. So finally, so in conclusion, so let me conclude my video presentation. This network satisfied the main requirement of the ABC business, and the Sydney router used in. So finally, this network satisfied the requirement of the ABC. So finally, so in conclusion, this network satisfied the requirement for the ABC business, where the Sydney uses the separate network. So, lastly, in this presentation, my network design satisfied the ABC. Now finally, this network design satisfied the requirement of the ABC requirement of the ABC for the network, ABC business, for the ABC business for the ABC network. So finally, this network satisfied the main requirement of the ABC business. The Sydney used the separate static and DHCP network. Now, finally, now in last, now at last, now. Fine. So in conclusion, the network. So in conclusion, the network design satisfied the requirement of the ABC business, and the Sydney used the separate static and DHCP network. Melbourne used VLANs with Inter-VLAN routing. EtherChannel is working between the Melbourne switches. RIP provides routing between the branches, and finally the ACL is successfully restrict access so that only the IT VLAN can access the Sydney server. Thank you for watching my presentation, and thank you very much.